Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Nightstalker podcast. Before we begin the episode, I have to make a disclaimer due to the nature of the topics we will be talking about on this show. Please note that we will be talking about cruelty and violence that may offend some people, as well as religious context and imagery that may be inappropriate to some. Thank you for listening and enjoy as we dive into this episode of our podcast.
Good evening, and this is the Nightstalker podcast. I am your host, the Nightstalker.
I'm the Professor.
Smokey.
And, welcome back. I got a question for everyone out there. Do you believe in magic? Well,
believe in magic.
Yes, well, I don't know, actually. Magic is such a weird topic because people would consider it, if we went back to, like, the Stone Age or the medieval times, you would show them technology and they'd probably be like, oh, this is witchcraft. Yeah. So, like, magic is just such a weird, broad term when you really think about it, right?
Yeah. Magic is basically the opposite of everything we know.
Yeah.
It's the mystery. See, like I was about to say, sometimes I can appreciate a magic trick, but I can also appreciate a good, like, sleight of hand. You know what I mean? Like, there doesn't have to necessarily be, like, magic for me to appreciate, like, oh, whoa, you had me thinking one thing, it ain't that what I was thinking. You know what I mean? Not at all.
Yeah.
So, like, I can appreciate that. So, like, would you consider that, like, on the same level or almost far as, like, somebody that's engaging in magic? You know what I mean? Like, just how to do that sleight of hand and, like, the charisma that it takes to have a motherfucker looking over here while you're doing some shit over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be the difference between when people talk about magicians and illusionists. It's like, are they the same? Are they different? And I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I mean, like, I do think all magicians are just illusionists. They just have this really good way of pulling off a trick. I mean, you know, not to brag, but I know a card trick myself. You know? But I'll tell you right now,
I ain't gonna be on Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Yeah, I ain't gonna be on Jimmy Kimmel, and just because I do it doesn't mean I know any magic. It's just the way I set up the trick. It's an illusion, you know? You know what's funny? This was years ago. I saw a magic show was I in Colorado? It might have been Colorado. But, this magician, he had his own shop. It was like this weird Western, like, theme place. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I went with my granddad and my sisters. And, we saw the show, and then afterwards he had this little shop, so you could buy some knickknacks. So, when we're in there, you could talk to him. So I asked him, I was like, hey, there's a trick I've always wondered about. Maybe you can explain it. And he was like, yeah, what is it? I'm like, you know that trick where you can, like, make a flower appear? Like, maybe it comes out your sleeve or something? And I'm kind of was making the hand motion. He's like, no, I never heard that one. And I'm just, like, looking at him like, bro, I've seen this in movies everywhere. You're telling me you haven't heard of this trick?
He was probably pulling your leg.
Yeah. Probably was.
I mean, magicians don't reveal their secrets.
He's probably, like, you know how when some people, like, you don't have the right terminology?
Yeah.
So they don't want to feed into it because they don't want to, like, reinforce the negative stereotype.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't saying anything bad. I was just like, dude, I want to learn this. Like, imagine just being able to flip a flower out for a girl or something. And of course, I was like 12. No, was I 12? No, wait, I was 16.
I mean, what's the difference? 12, 16?
I know, what's the mature difference? Like, tell me that.
If you'd asked me back then, I'd have said I was a man then, too.
Yeah. So, but, it's just funny to think about magic. And then, like, you go everywhere in the world, different cultures, you're like, what is magic to you guys? And then they say it, and then some of it sounds like, oh, yeah, you know, fairy dust, all that. Yeah, that sounds like some real magic Peter Pan stuff. But then you get somewhere they'll talk to you about, you mean electricity?
You mean gravity?
Gravity?
You mean those atoms you talking about?
The magic stuff.
That's like when it's like on a bigger scale, like an illusion. You know what I mean? They're almost like living in an illusion because like life is presenting itself in a way to them that they cannot understand that like, you know, it's really over here. Like, you know what I mean? So like, it's almost like, okay, do you appreciate like that sometimes magic is about the illusion? You know what I mean? The sleight of hand is not so much the, like when we're watching like America's Got Talent, you know what I mean? Like this isn't magic we're seeing. This is like a performer doing like sleight of hand plus the charisma that it takes to kind of hold the audience's attention and shit. That's all part of it, you know what I mean? Like a street performer ain't shit if you can just walk by him. You know what I mean?
And then the other part too, you know, a lot of people think these volunteers who get taken up, you know, are real people, and I'm just kind of like, some of these volunteers are in on it.
Oh, they're definitely.
No. Some. Yeah. I would like to probably like, you know, adamantly without any hesitation say that 9 out of 10 of them motherfuckers
they are in on
it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Definitely paid to do so.
Yeah, but that's all part of the illusion.
The illusion. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
this makes me want to watch The Prestige. Have you guys ever seen The Prestige?
No.
I can't say I have.
Oh, you guys would dig it. It's Batman and Wolverine fighting over Black Widow with magic.
I keep thinking of that one show, that one movie, what is the one? It's about the magicians. It's kind of like a Catch Me If You Can type.
Is it actually called The Magicians? Because there is a show called The Magicians.
No, it's not a show. It's a movie. It's like one or Now You See Me. Yeah, it's the one with their magicians that kind of like do ice and shit. Yeah. I kind of think of it almost like that, you know what I mean? Like, they're magicians, they're doing some crazy, like, magic shit in there, but, like, they knew that it was all sleight of hand and shit. You know what I mean? And, like, but it was all about presentation and stuff. So, like, I feel like that's half of magic, and I feel like it's almost why magic can be so dope, but, like, can get such the, like, kind of controversy behind it, because people kind of go into it, like, wanting it to be so, they want it to be so real. And that they kind of get let down when it's not real or something. And
their expectations are too high.
They're too high, and then they can no longer appreciate the sleight of hand or the charisma that it takes to pull off these tricks and these acts, because they were so stuck on the fact that, like, you know what I mean? Like, once I figured out how the sleight of hand worked, that, like, it lost its allure to me.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of it, too, if anyone out there is listening who wants to be a magician or illusionist, you know, you don't learn that in, like, a lot of these books. You learn it probably by being an apprentice to an actual magician or illusionist. Because, you know, a lot of these tricks, I'm not saying they're all the same tricks, but they're just done different ways. You know, whether it's making something appear out of something, you know, maybe it's a hat, maybe it's a box, maybe it's a, maybe it's Maybelline.
Itself, it's Maybelline.
You know, it's a way that's done. It's still probably the same method. It's just you just repackaged it differently. You know, but there are some crazy stuff out there. Like, didn't Chris Angel fly over the pyramid in Las Vegas? I mean,
he's done walking on water.
He's done walking on water. A few things. I mean, like, I'm not gonna say
disappeared over a few. You know what I mean? A few things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say that, you know.
I mean, he's even disappeared from immediate relevancy.
You know.
That's his greatest trick.
Right?
Who's better, him or David Blaine?
I'd say Chris Angel, from what I've seen.
Chris Angel? I kind of like David Blaine, because I feel like David Blaine more so embodied the fact that, A, this is magic, but it's also a sleight of hand. And I feel like Chris Angel kind of played on the opposite side. Oh, this is I can't say that this is not magic, because it's all about the allure that this is magic, that, like, I can never really go into that, like, okay, this is actually sleight of hand. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you this for sure. Houdini was definitely sleight of hand. I mean, come on, get it out.
He's also performing. See, this is what I was thinking in the bathroom. My bad to cut you off.
No,
but I was thinking, like, as a set, another thing we could kind of go into is like performance art. You know what I mean? Like, where's performance art kind of stack into this? Because I think performance art is, like, when you bring up Houdini, like, I almost
breaking out of a straitjacket.
Performance art more so than magic. You know what I mean? Because, like, we all go into that knowing that, like, okay, well, this is not, like, per se magic. Like, he's doing something, like, he's contacting some forces that I couldn't you know what I mean? Could see. But he is performing some type of act that I have not the capabilities to do. You know what I mean? Because he's a trained performer. So it's like, I can appreciate that. You know what I mean? Like, fucking the skill that it takes to be able to do that shit. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that performance, like, that's where I think Chris Angel really capitalized, that he kind of brought the magic and magicianship. And, like, I know Chris Angel for us is, like, he's our cultural icon, because, like, for our age group, he kind of was coming up when we were younger. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's probably ones before him that I can reference. But, like, I feel like he, as far as, like, TV, wanting to see these, like, acts that are, like, not only, like, magic per se, and, like, but like performance acts, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what gets it more popular.
Yeah,
is these performances.
It's more for like the spectacle.
Yeah, spectacle. This isn't like the little magician that you hire for the kid's birthday party for the kids
with the limp like magic wand.
Yeah,
and
the
the
little limp
water
tricks.
Squirting flowers.
Yeah, you know, like these are like actual.
It smells like gin for some reason.
Exactly. You know
when the mom's in the party keeps eyeing him, you're just like, what's
going on here? Is Kathy sleeping with the magician?
Yeah, you know, and I think a lot of people have recreated the Houdini fiend. I think most of it came down to, like, when it gets put on you, kind of flexing or something. So you have room once it's off, you can relax, dislocating, like, your shoulders and stuff. Yeah. You know, I think that's how they prove, that's how you're able to do it. Mm-hmm. But,
and, like, keys that are hidden under the tongue and shit beforehand and type shit.
Oh, yeah, that, or
like, palmed, or, like, they got different places they can put keys ahead of time.
And, you know, I mean, all the chick, you know how there's always that stereotypical chick who gets put in the box with the swords? She's probably very limber, and knows which sword's coming from which angle, so she's prepared. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. But it's just like, that's the whole spectacle of it. You know what I mean? It's almost like, to me, I would say, as compared to, like, WWE professional wrestling. Okay, so, like, how people would say, like, how serious do you take WWE?
Wait. Wrestling's not real?
It was shattered wrestling? Too. I remember being at
I was shook.
I remember being at the Meyer residence, so convinced that wrestling was still real at the time, and having his mom break it to me that this was all bullshit. I was kind of upset. Why are you gonna ruin it for me? But
you mean those RKOs aren't real?
Are you telling me he didn't just kick him in the face? He's slapping him across the chest. That doesn't hurt. But okay, so it's like, how serious do you take this? This is a performance art. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? How serious do you take, for instance, like a character like Brock Lesnar? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Who had very much had real skill, went into this performance art, and then wasn't taken seriously as a real fighter because he was in this performance art and had to prove that he was a real fighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so like, how serious do you take wrestling? Like, do we take serious that these like artists that are honing a skill, that are like putting on an act for us? These are like these are scripted performances. So somebody's in the back thinking like, okay, we're gonna do this, then this. There's like a timeline to it. You know what I mean? So it's thought out. These aren't just random little matches. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, how serious do you take, or are we just gonna keep throwing in that this is fake fighting category? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it easily gets kind of tossed into that. Like, this is just fake fighting. That's what this is.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, I mean, you can tell. I mean, especially if you're someone who has taken actual martial arts,
but
you know.
It's the illusion in it. You know what I mean? That you start to appreciate, and like that when you're a kid, because of how your mind works when you're a kid, it's easy for you to get caught up in these illusions. That's why you like them. You know what I mean? That's why you appreciate them so much.
Yeah.
So I think that just like when you got a character like Brock Lesnar who's able to like have a skill, real wrestler, take that into this performance art. You know what I mean? That's like, he's not really wrestling anymore. This is performance art, but he's drawing on his real skills. Mm-hmm. For him to be taken seriously then in the UFC as a real fighter, I think it speaks volumes to how do we then look at the WWE? You know what I mean? Like, these are real people who realize real performers. You know what I mean? These are just the fake fighters. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, so like, as far as like, you know, people be saying how like there's no more like magic, no more mystery in the world. I feel like you gotta like kind of look at it differently. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it can't be so cut and dry. Like, you gotta appreciate the process.
Yeah.
I'm done ranting.
I think that's what the essence of magic really is. It's the mystery.
Yeah.
And I think Smokey said it well. It's like, we appreciate the mystery of it, but once the mystery starts, you know, becoming more well known, then you don't really see it as magic anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's still appreciated, but like I think that's true. Like in the way magic itself is viewed, because back then you had stuff like, I don't know, like what flying. People would think that was magic, but now people fly everywhere on airplanes, and so. Like, people appreciate flying, but it's not like, ooh, it's a true mystery how they do that, you know?
Yeah.
Or, like, even like, fire. Way back when, like...
I'm sorry to cut you off. Where do you think, though, like, the cultural context of, like, where those things started to get taken seriously? Like, did it become from, like, these are the crazy Wright brothers and this magic flying contraption to, like, now this is something that's taken seriously as a means of commerce and commercial. You know what I mean? Like, what does it take for that to kind of happen? You know what I mean?
Honestly, I think a lot of it happened when trains were invented.
Okay, so like...
Because, like, now you had a way to, like, travel fast. You had a way for, like, news to get places. And, you know, you can learn it straight from the source through, like, a telegram or whatever. And with the spread of information came, like, the belief in mysteries was like reduced and like brought down to a level where everyone can like know what it is, you know. But yeah, like just natural phenomenon. Like when fire, I'd imagine when fire was like first known to humans, we'd have to make up stories like, oh, Prometheus, the Titan of fire, the Titan of forethought. My bad. Brought down the ability to bring fire, like the gods, like substance fire to humans, and like he's being punished right now.
And this is such a thing that like they had to punish him over it. You know, that's how crazy this force is.
But now, like just a Google search or like a YouTube search on how to start a fire, and like you know, like the bow method, you know the drill method, you know the hot coals and whatever.
And for it happening in nature itself, it can just happen with dry wind and, like, lightning, you know.
I mean, like, all those wildfires, like Australia right now.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
And I feel like the 20th century, the fact that we have this access to that information, it's like it's a blessing because we have the ability to understand fire and look what it's done for us, right? But, like, I feel like it also kind of, like, makes it to where, like, we no longer appreciate that force or, like, can really see what it is because we kind of expect it. Or kind of it's lost the mysticism behind it. You know what I mean? So then now you have people like per se little kids that are never taught that this is a real fire is dangerous. You know what I mean? So they start to play with matches and shit, and they end up burning some shit down because they didn't fully understand that this is fire. You know what I mean? Because their parents were conditioned to think this is fire. You know what I mean? I feel like that kind of. That kind of idea, that kind of effect kind of precipitates throughout society, kind of to where like we're so sheltered and shit that we don't have a real understanding or grasp of like these forces outside of us, you know what I mean? And like how strong they can really be on us. And that's why all of a sudden now climate change is like a big thing, and you have people that kind of cannot wrap their heads around it. They say it's all fake. You got people that are like so into like they still believe it that like everything's climate change. You know what I mean? So it's like a spectrum. You know what I mean? Like some people are too extreme. Some people are too.
Yeah, people thought the ice caps be melted by now.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? But like we're not going to deny that it's just melting. But like we're not going to say that like we're on some crazy timeline either. You know what I mean? That the shit's going to be melted in 5 years. You know, whoa. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know what I mean? Gasoline ain't going nowhere, y'all.
Well, and now I'm hearing about global cooling, and I'm just like, wait a minute, I thought
you said, what is it?
Yeah, I thought we were heating up.
You know when something gets so hot it feels cold?
It feels cold, yeah.
Maybe that's what it's talking about.
There's nuances to the situation, you know what I mean? But I feel like you can't appreciate those nuances because climate in and of itself has just been so minimalized. Like we don't live off the fucking the change of the seasons anymore, so people can't even grasp that this is as big of a thing really, or what it even is. Like what effect does it really have on us? How should we change or how we live based on this? Because we've been so conditioned that we're dependent on the change of seasons. But, like, because of how work is divided up amongst us, only certain people are actually able to see and are affected by the seasons. and a lot of the rest of the population is just like lives through it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that kind of makes it to where like you have this whole controversy behind it. You know what I mean? And like, what is global warming? You know what I mean? Like, we really know what it is. Like, it's climate. But, like, how do we really break it down, you know what I mean? Like, or what is magic? We know what magic is, a sleight of hand, but, like, how do we break it down? And how do we look at it? How serious do we take it? And how do we apply it to how we see other shit around us? You know what I mean?
I think I've said it before, but humans are very, what's it called? Curious species.
We are.
We like to explain things
Like
that we don't know, or we'd like to find out things that we don't know.
Yes.
And for the longest time, that's been magic. And you can tell by like the way we entertain ourselves. Going back to like one of the first stories where Orpheus goes to the underworld to free his wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or we can even go back to Shakespeare where, you know, a bunch of fairies start messing with people's day and make everyone love the wrong person.
Okay. Yeah.
But
the whole what's your room?
Yeah. But now that we know more things about the world, more about technology, or like even natural sciences, and we can explain a lot of phenomena, our versions of entertainment, like the genres we enjoy, are starting to have shifted more towards the sci-fi or like the what ifs, or the, you know, something like all animes and mangas right now are all about, oh, what happens if some guy
10-15 years in the future,
some guy like goes to a different world, or like what if
that's really big right
video
now.
games are real life. Yeah. So like it's more of like a shift in thinking. I think it's a paradigm. That's what it's called. A paradigm shift where magic is being not as prevalent as before, but it's still being used to explain the things we don't know.
Yeah.
Still has its place in society.
Yeah, definitely.
I was watching something that kind of to tangent off of what you were talking about. I was watching something the other day that was talking about how like people, like the way that we kind of like developed as far as like we developed language, and that was kind of our like that was our shining star. Like, this is our specialty, is our language. You know what I mean? And that's where we kind of lost that animalistic instinct, and how animals are able to just live off the land and just have like an understanding of the almost like a instinctual understanding of the world that like humans kind of lack now, but it's like we obviously had it at some point. So what happened to change that? You know what I mean? Where in what time did our perception say that like, oh, now no, language is what's more important, so we're gonna focus all our everything on this versus, you know what I mean, like some other trait. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why I feel like the whole magic discussion, it kind of can relate to like, okay, like where's magic's place in our world kind of can relate to like how do we see God in our world right now? Because like the whole like technological advances in how we are with the 21st century has made it to where like magic can per se be like obsolete, because we have an understanding of the world that's so in depth that like, oh, well, magic's obsolete now, but it's like, no, it's not obsolete. It's just like you got to appreciate it in a different way because your understanding of it is so much deeper now. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, that's why I don't like when people kind of say that like, okay, the evolution kind of has disproved God, so what's God's place in the 21st century? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, just because you understand the trick of evolution and how that works doesn't disprove like, or like make anything else less valuable. You know what I mean? Like, it just changes how you look at evolution. You know what I mean? And how you apply it to the rest of the world.
And who's not to say, who's not to say God to create a new species of bird was like, I'm gonna change this one. But,
evolution.
But, a day to God is like, what, how many years to us? So, of course it took him a day, maybe it took 1,000 years, because he was just like, okay, now it's gonna mutate, and, now you have a new subspecies of, like, a certain bird.
Yeah.
This
is all shit that would have been looked at as, like, kind of magic at one point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not really looked at as magic anymore, but, like, I still feel like it can have just as much, like, cultural, like, value or cultural weight as magic did back then on people.
Mm-hmm.
It can still have that. You know what I mean? It's still important for it to have that. It's not, I feel like it's it's bad for us to like lose that kind of appreciation for magic. You know what I mean? Or just for like the concept of like what is it we're really looking at and talking about? You know
Yeah.
Like I feel like if I was to grow up thinking that this magic thing is all bullshit, it's all just like some like fairy tale. You know what I mean? I was looking at it like that. It would change kind of my perception on other things too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know, I mean, thinking about magic itself, you know, let's see here. I think some years back I did really think about magic. Like, what if it's real? Because I'll be honest with you, if I combine magic with my martial arts, hot damn. But you know, so I kind of did a little look into it, and I'm not saying, you know, like I said, magic is something we don't understand. I'm not saying it's real. I'm not saying it's not real. But, you know, everything I saw seemed to have a darker type of path, you know, occultic. So, if there was any other type of magic, I don't know about it. You know, I think we can all agree that there's some weird people who probably do some weird sacrifices and stuff, you know. But in the name of magic, which probably has a very different meaning. But, like, you know, in terms of, like, was it ever, like, something else before? You know, I mean, who's to say? I mean, it's all about someone back then in the medieval times might have thought electricity, if anyone was able to make it, would be like, oh, you know, it's magic, you know?
The next fire.
You know? Exactly, it was the next fire. It's the next discovery or something. So, you know, and we just live in a time now, you know, it's kind of the time period we live now is so interesting because the world's been discovered. There's no more.
But has it really? Because we ain't been to them oceans yet, so
let's see them ocean aliens.
Where's that giant squid? I only see dead bodies.
You know, no, that's a good
bullshit.
No, that's a good point. And then, of course, you got you know, fables of Atlantis and other forgotten
That's why I feel like you can't
places.
lose the mysticism because when you start saying it's all just been discovered. Has it really? We're missing out on so much. You know what I mean?
But then there's the question of, are we? Are we or are we not? You know? And it's just kind of, you just think about it, and it's just kind of like, man, you know.
I don't think you figure out, are we not, by saying you are.
No, I'm not saying that either. You need proof. Yeah. A lot of people, though, would probably try to argue, here's the world map. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm just saying, their argument might be, here's the world map. Everything's been discovered.
That appeal to authority can only work on so different levels.
Well, that's where the real independent thinkers come in and go, well, we haven't explored Antarctica yet, or maybe we haven't explored all pieces of, you know, we haven't explored every piece of the world. Like, we haven't gone to the mountains of such and such, and, you know, such and such. So, who's, No, I think we're all good. You know, who's to say that there still isn't some adventure left in the world that hasn't been taken yet?
And I ain't even trying to say I'm the one trying to take that adventure. You ain't gonna find Smokey on no mountaintop. Alright?
If you gave Nightstalker a bunch of money, don't think I'd be Indiana Jonesing it and going out places. I'm not kidding.
You always find Smokey in no Amazon rainforest, battling snakes and alligators and crocodiles and shit. No, that ain't alright. But I can appreciate the man that does do it.
Nightstalker, if you had a lot of time and money. If I had a lot of time and money, oh yeah.
Yeah, if I had billions to be a philanthropist, I'd kick back a few hundred your way, bro, just for the sake of it. Off the strength. Because that's some cool shit. Like that one dude that climbs the mountains, free solos.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, bro, I watched that, bro. I can't just watching it. Gives me a feeling.
Have you have you seen that professor? The guy who he climbed.
His name's Alex something.
Yeah, what did he climb though?
El Cap. He's climbed a few things, but El Cap was like the big one.
Okay, he climbed El Cap. You know El Cap, right? Mm-hmm. He climbed it. No gear.
No gear.
Anything. No gear. There's a documentary on it.
Nothing, bro. No rope. No gear. He climbed with a bag of chalk in his hand, some specialized shoes, and just like the knowledge that he had. Nothing else. He climbed to the top of the fucking mountain.
Shit, dude.
Like, and this is you've seen what El Cap looks like too. Like, this isn't something that where you can just like walk up, kind of. You know what I mean? Like,
you are
a steady
climbing.
incline. This is no steady incline. This is this is a steep incline.
A sheer
incline. Yeah. Professor, help me with my vocabulary. Smokey knows what he's trying to say, man. But yeah, so it's just like, I couldn't even fathom. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't even, just watching it, I'm like, you just, like, you know, when you just know, just human instinct just tells you, like, you're somewhere where you're not supposed to be. This is danger. You know what I mean? It's just like, how is this motherfucker able to turn that danger feeling off? Because I'm having the feeling, just looking at the fucking 2-inch screen, my nigga, he is up on that mountain, really doing that shit, got the fucking fear turned up off a nigga. Bro, them motherfucking nuts are hanging so low on that motherfucker, bro. like
some people look at that and maybe they think, oh, he's probably using magic.
Magic, bro! That's magic if I ever seen some shit, bro. I'm telling you.
That's the biggest draw to magic. It's that you can just explain something you don't know as magic. Mm-hmm. That's what people's done in history, like long ago. Like, who was it? Tesla, not Elon Musk, but like Nikola Tesla.
Yeah, the real Tesla.
He harnessed electricity through his Tesla coils, and everyone shunned him because they didn't know how to do that. Yeah. That's a dangerous thing. Like, they didn't know what it is. It's probably magic, and it's dangerous. What else?
Then he died broke, alone, and an alcoholic and some other shit.
And, you know, he was an interesting guy. I mean, like, there's some fiends that a lot of people, there's people I know who believe that, like, apparently he had this drill that could split the earth. I've heard that before. I'm not saying I know any of this. And another thing that happened was that someone said that he probably knew how to time travel. So I really wonder if he figured out some weird, crazy stuff like that.
The thing about time travel is that we wouldn't be able to know if we can time travel.
Yeah.
Because the people that do know that you can time travel probably
time travel. They're not going to be here time traveling, telling you, yeah, that's all kind of weird shit there. Yeah, and what happens if you see yourself?
That's the biggest question.
There's an actual thing. There's a word. I don't know it. There's an actual
paradox.
There's an actual paradox that if you from another time if you go back in time like 10 years, you and that other you cannot exist on the same plane.
Because remember we're watching Fate. Yeah. That's like almost the whole like concept behind Ultimate Blade works. Like the fact that he tried to come back and kill himself.
Dude, that's like my favorite series.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
Bro. We get that whole podcast episode, booty boo boo, bro. I don't even know yet. Whole another one, bro. Material in the works. But, bro, like, it's like, okay, so like when you come back in time, are you able to see and really affect and change the shit that like is going to happen if you kind of like you are that person? Okay, so like, and you do have like the prior knowledge of already doing it, you know what I mean? So it's like, you would think you could have a huge effect on the outcome, you know what I mean? By going back in time with the knowledge of whatever is going to happen. But it kind of feels like, and like knowing, like seeing this played out in many, many movies, like you really have no control over like the flow of time, you know what I mean? And like how it kind of eventually is going to end up doing what it's going to do. It's just like, it's whole, you know, that's a whole.
Time travel is a weird subject. Nobody really knows what happens to it. It's probably magic.
Yeah, probably magic. Straight like that, bro. You seen that with Interstellar, bro? That was just a magic documentary. What that was.
I saw Interstellar, and I still to this day was like, what the hell did I watch?
But that movie, Interstellar, Inception, and Shutter Island are 3 movies I can watch over and over again. Still be like. Maybe not as amazed as I was the first time I saw them, but damn near like a good 7, 8 out of 10 every time. You know what I mean? Like, the movies, like, they age well, and it's just like, bro, what the fuck?
And Leonardo DiCaprio didn't win an Oscar for Shutter Island.
What the hell is going on, bro? We all know the Oscars is like, we all know what that is now. Come on now. Harvey Weinstein had his cock deep in that motherfucker. You know what it is.
Gosh.
Like, hey, this is some weird funky dunky shit going on. Secret societies, fucking clubs and fraternities that I ain't a part of. So
George Carlin once said in his stand-up, "It's one big club, and we're not in it."
Mm-hmm. So it's just like, I don't give a fuck who makes these fucking lists and decides to give these fucking awards. You know what I mean? Like,
also, way to pat yourself on the back, Hollywood. Like,
the only fucked part is that like so many other people, like you could put no value in the stock, but if enough people around you put value in the stock, it almost doesn't matter that you don't put value in the stock. You have to play with the stock in the market because it is such a force that not being part of this market is going to like have you at such a deficit from the people around you, whether it's like a good market to be in morally or fucking like intellectually, like just whether it's like a sound way to go or not, you know what I mean? Like, so like, where was I going with this? This is getting me good. I don't even know where I was starting with that one.
edit that out in post-production, please.
34:45.
This is what post is for. Bloopers, little blooper, little scene right here.
So let me ask you guys this: if magic was real and not evil related, what would you guys learn it?
See, this is the thing about magic and why I think that you were seeing these things when you were looking into it. You know that idea that like when somebody becomes more knowledgeable about the world around them, they at the same time start to like have a doubt that is so powerful because of that knowledge that like it's like it makes the bliss ignorance seem like, you know what I mean, like almost like that is what you want, you know what I mean? Even though intellectually you like that is like the what you stand so much against, you know what I mean? Just being in that blissful ignorance, you know what I mean? But it's just like, damn, how could you even fucking you know what I mean? So like I feel like that's why magic kind of gets kind of dark, because like when you start playing with that type of shit, you know what I mean? You start fucking with forces that are like, if that's your real, you know what I mean? So much greater than you. That like there's no like, and when forces are so much greater than you, it's easy to see them in like that type of light. You know what I mean? Because they can be. You know what I mean? That's why global warming is so crazy, it's so scary. But climate and like the world is so beautiful at the same time. You know what I mean? So it's like fucking.
Doesn't that go into the old phrase? Try not to stare into the abyss because it eventually stares back.
Yeah, dude, I'd fucking learn magic the first opportunity.
Okay, see, yeah, I'd probably fuck around too. I can't act like I wouldn't, bro. But like, I do be thinking like, ooh, I could be like doing some shit that I don't know. You know what I mean? Because like, there's certain shit that like I've always said, like even though per se, like let's say like Ouija boards per se, like at this point in my life, okay, my dad, you know what I mean? I would like to talk to him. In no time would I ever play with the Ouija board. Like, morally, that's just, like, how I am. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what, like, the situation may be. And, like, with magic, because I don't understand these forces, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if I could fucking, I would probably go into it, like, you know what I mean? I would go into it. Hey, this is the dopest thing ever. But, like, I might find myself in a fucked position a little later. You ever see, like, the movies or shows or some shit where the niggas start, it's like that, the dark side, you start fucking with some fucked up forces and shit, and then, like, 3, 4, 5 years later, like, you could just see it in a motherfucker whole body, you know what I mean? He just looked like he's been fucking with some shit that has got him fucked up, bro. Like,
I was just about to say, Star Wars is a good analogy with the light, with the Force, you know, the dark side and the Jedi. Because you can go into it, you know, maybe you try and learn it for the sake of good, but then you start getting into that other stuff.
Mm-hmm. And the dark side is like drugs. Like, it's all about, like, passion and fucking, like, lust and like, all that
And the dark side, it's not like everything you do in the dark side is bad. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not like it's meant all for killing.
Yes.
It's stuff the Jedi doesn't agree with based on
how it can affect your mindset.
Yeah.
I think Uncle Ben said it best.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly.
Uncle Ben was a fuck.
You're messing around with like powers and like you don't really understand them, but like you have to use it responsibly, or else things could just spiral out of control.
Oh, agreed. That's for a lot of fiends.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad. A lot of people who learn martial arts don't learn that. You know, I'm not. You
gotta see this mock dojo shit that I was talking about the other day.
like, there's, I've gone to quite a few places, and when you find a place that, really teaches you, like, self-defense, or, quote-unquote, the way of the fist, a lot of people can go to your head, because now, against someone who doesn't know martial arts, you kind of will win, like, almost every time, There's nothing guaranteed in a fight.
But somebody that's a trained fighter, though.
But if you're a trained fighter, and you're going up against someone who has no knowledge, you're pretty much going to win. Now it starts going to people's heads, and now they start looking for fights, for some type of gratification. And it's just like, that's not the way.
Yeah. Also, too, if you watch this mock dojo, like, there's a lot of videos of people that, like, because UFC is such a, like, big phenomenon right now, and, like, UFC is, like, kind of like the applied sciences of martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it takes all the martial arts and kind of applies them in a way that, like, okay, like, individually, the science is good, but, like, when we apply this science in the whole grand scheme of things, how does it play out? You know what I mean? So, like, so that's when you figure out that, like, boxing and, like, certain type of striking that Joe Rogan talks about this all the time is, like, way more superior than, like, the striking they do in a lot of martial arts. And, like, because of martial arts, like, the history of it is so rigid that, like, a lot of these people at the top don't want to acknowledge those applied sciences. You know what I mean? That the UFC is.
And that goes into, like, Bruce, go back to Bruce Lee. He took Wing Chun.
Yep.
He didn't like the fact that you were, in Wing Chun.
And he's all like, oh, hold up.
Well, in Wing Chun, the stance of this
it doesn't make any sense.
You fight like you're rooted like a tree with your feet. So when you fight, there's a lot of parries and stuff, but that's expecting your opponent to be like you and to stay in this position. Well, Bruce Lee was like, why would I want to do that when I could be like a boxer and strike him and move?
And especially when you're fighting against somebody that's using that skill set of a striker, like, you know what I mean? So he's not using the skill set of your martial art. That's the thing about martial arts. It seems that, like, in martial arts, you tend to go up against your same martial art, so you don't apply the science in a way that, like, it's able to go against some unknown type shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, you got these people in, like, these martial arts. I'd be watching mock dojo. I went on a whole little rabbit hole one night. You got these people that, like, in tournaments, they look dope as fuck because, like, how the rules are set up or whatever. Like, you can only strike certain areas, you can only do a certain type of strike or whatever. So, like, they look dope as fuck. They'll fuck people up. They'll get into a street fight with somebody that's, like, knows how to fight, though, because he's been in a lot of street fights. Yeah. And he doesn't know how to do some martial arts. He'll go up in that martial arts match and lose 5 points every time. But in the applied science on the street,
he'll knock someone out.
Yeah, his striking and his way of fighting is much more applicable than what they're doing over there, even though what they're doing over there looks more like an art. You know what I mean?
And that can go for any martial art. I saw
any martial art.
I was watching, this is just kind of recent, I was watching clips from I forgot what movie. I think it was The Three Musketeers from a few years back. And the fencing looks pretty cool. So I looked up some fencing videos, and then I saw a video as fencing versus Eskrima, and I'm an Eskrima practitioner. So I looked it up, and in the video, the guy who knew fencing was definitely doing way better than the guy doing Eskrima against him. So if someone without knowledge, well, hold on. If you were watching that and you only saw that one video, you'd be like, "Oh, fencing's the way to go." Well, I was watching it. And I was kind of like, the guy doing his Eskrima, I was like, he's not stepping... There's certain footwork in Eskrima. He wasn't doing it. He was staying in line, going against the fencer. So he was kind of playing the fencer's game. Yeah. So I looked up another video, and I found one. It was a guy with Eskrima versus a guy in fencing. And, these are controlled environments. It's not like some guy was like, I challenge you to a duel. So they have on the gear you wear when you're doing that stuff. This guy in this video, and the fencer was really good, but the Eskrima guy definitely was on top of his craft, and if they didn't have the gear on, he would have messed that fencer up. He was getting in, parrying his sword, striking him, and then at one point he got in close, and he was doing what's called a puño. It's where you take the butt end of your stick, so not where you're striking, but it's this end, at the end. Pommel? Yeah, where your palm is. And he's just on his head going, bam, bam, just striking him. And the fencer can't do anything, because the guy's other stick has his fencing feet like this, so he can't move that. So he's only got this hand available, and he's just pounding him.
Like the way the fencing sword is made is kind of...
Yeah, the way a rapier is... the foil. The foil, yeah. That's it. The way it's designed, it's longer, so he had the reach, just like in the first video I saw. The guy had the reach, so he kept striking the Eskrima guy before he could get in close, because he had reach. But the other guy, in the second video, even though he had reach, the Eskrima guy would parry the foil, and then he strike with his R1, and he would go what's called offline, and he was using his footwork different, So, obviously...
Not a predictable way.
Exactly, yeah.
So, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you said that martial arts is, like, the knowledge and the art behind it, and, like, what's it called? The UFC is, like, the applied science?
It's our modern day gladiators.
If magic is the knowledge and, learning it, what's the applied science for magic?
I would, if I had to really say, I'd have to say magicians, like Chris.
I would also say,
like Chris Angel and all that.
You got certain
because they're
people
the
that
show
work
people.
in technology. My bad.
Okay.
I be getting ideas, and I just have to say them because I'll forget. Smoking. But I think that there's certain people that work in technology that have, because they work in technology in a field that advances so quickly. There has to be people that are always trying to think of the next, what is not possible now, but will be possible in the future. These are things that would have been looked at as like magic, you know what I mean? But they're not magic, but like to look at what I have now, what I'm capable of now, and try to apply it in a way that makes the capabilities, if not in a way that able to actually perform in a way that's more, better, for them to appear that they perform in a way that's more better. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Same materials or whatever. Yeah. So, I feel like you got certain people, when you're saying, what's the applied sciences of magic now? I feel like it would have to be, in technological advances and, any type of field where you have an innovator, you know what I mean, that kind of looks at the field and looks at what is clearly, stated and able to happen, you know what I mean? And so all the books, well documented, this is information anybody can get and do. And then there's the level of information that, is only able to be understood by somebody that, dives deep into it. You know what I mean? And, he's able to theorize and look at it in a way that, can go beyond what's just, written into textbooks. You know what I mean? I feel like that's where you can find, the magicians.
So,
and it's funny, I'm sorry to cut you up, Professor, but we haven't even touched on the medicine field, because let's be honest, a lot of people back then, like I said, you take medicine
it would
now,
looked at alchemy.
Yeah, the Black Death, a lot of people died. Don't we have
the coronavirus?
We're working on a fiend right now.
People dying, I think.
Yeah, and people are trying.
I don't know, but
people are trying to find a way to combat it. But the Black Death, though, we have a cure, right? If the bubonic plague isn't, if you get it early enough, can't you cure it technically?
I think so.
Certain strains of it, I think.
Yeah. So
I think there's certain because of how, that's why you hear this whole superbug thing, because of how evolution works. You know what I mean? And we've been suppressing a lot of these biological fucking whatever you would call them, you know what I mean, for so long with antibiotics, they become evolved to now operate around those antibiotics, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a way that's
they adapt,
you know what I mean? And that's evolution in your face, you know what I mean, in a way that kind of is more tangible, because it happens within
it's
100 years.
It's a bacteria. It's a living thing, right?
It's a living thing, you know what I mean? And these is that would have been the magic, you know what I mean? Somebody getting sick would have been well, he got afflicted by some magic, the Salem witch trial. You know what I mean? Somebody's doing some weird, bad black magic, and that's why so-and-so got sick. You know what I mean? So, and also a lot of these, same fields where they're applying, the cutting-edge research. Some of it is almost... You got people that are afflicted with certain ailments that they're willing to do certain procedures or whatever that's so experimental and so what if it may, you know what I mean, so not understood yet that it's you know what I mean, but when you're in that position, I feel it, so you know what I mean, and then when they do get cured, even though it's it was it was the doctor and the science that did it, you'll find that a lot of them will be like, this was some magic. Even though I was going to the doctor and I was doing that, and that's how I got better, it was still like some shit. You know what I mean? Like, some shit was going on that really wasn't, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
So a few years ago, I was curious, because, I think that's when I watched Full Metal Alchemist, and so I really wanted to... Great anime. Would recommend 10 out of 10. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
10
out of 10.
So I was curious about alchemy, and so I actually did stumble upon a site that explained alchemy, and basically it's just that different materials in the world, from how it explained it, the site explained it to me, different materials and ingredients in the world have different components that are different elemental components.
Yeah.
And what you want to do is you want to balance the elements within your body using materials or ingredients that you consume on an everyday basis.
That you can source.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, a lot of alchemy is just mixing those ingredients to make tonics or like potions or whatever that you give to people, and it'll balance their inner elements.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really creepy site, because it was one of those like code-based HTML early 2000s looking sites.
Oh yeah, you know there's something fishy going on here. Yeah.
You're on tour.
I hope my Napster's up to date. Fucking, I think that the dope part when you like the part about alchemy that is like really like makes it interesting is that like the idea that like, okay, like I've taken certain elements, right, and these elements, you know how like in like biology you have genotypes and phenotypes, so it could be one thing but it shows as this, you know what I mean? So like in alchemy you got certain elements and they might be this, but they show these certain properties, and you want to change these properties to be these properties, but with the same elements. You know what I mean? But I want different properties to show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you get these different properties to show by mixing and changing and like kind of like having an understanding of like the actual elements. You know what I mean? And like not so much wanting to get a change in like an elemental breakdown, because I feel like that's more so like chemistry and shit, you know what I mean? But I want to get more of a property change, you know what I mean? Like I want to get the properties of this element or this compound to show differently, or to react differently so I can get whatever effect I want to get, you know what I mean? More so than I want to have like a breakdown of this compound and like add this to make a different compound. You know what I mean? But I mean, alchemy is kind of looked at as like kind of like not applicable anymore. But I feel like if you look at it like that, it can be applicable as far as the theoretical.
So we talked a lot about magic basically in like real world, how we view it in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what are some? Let's go less real world this time. Let's talk about.
Let's dig a little deeper.
Let's talk about magic in the various media and the various forms that you know.
You mean just like which ones I think are the coolest and I want to learn?
That I think that are having like a real, like are really doing something right now, type shit. Like,
or like what forms of magic do you want?
You want to be in Harry Potter, or you want to be in Lord of the Rings?
Harry Potter, very structured, organized magic casting. Mm-hmm. Lord of the Rings, he did it because he was a wizard.
Okay. I feel like Lord of the Rings, the lore was kind of more mysterious, and it was like then like in Harry Potter, because of how there was the breakdown was like there's more history, and it was like the whole. What I did appreciate about the newer movies, even though they sucked, was like the breakdown and the difference between, because I never read the book, was the difference between like how Britain was looking at their magic versus how America was looking at their magic, and how like history was kind of having an effect on that. You know what I mean?
Oh, and Harry Potter.
And
Harry
Potter.
Harry Potter.
What's it? Fantastic Beasts?
Yeah, the newer ones.
Yeah, War of
It's still Harry Potter.
Grindelwald.
Yeah, weird Johnny Depp.
Yeah, weird Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp's comeback. But
J.K. Rowling did a good job in like differentiating different regions of the world.
Yeah.
Like I think she posted about magic schools in Japan and like Africa, and how how in Africa they view like rituals as more open. They're less black magic or dark magic than the rest of the world. But yeah, like
you kind of saw that in the Goblet of Fire.
Yeah,
and, like they all kind of
definitely.
Yeah, all the Triwizard Cup.
Yeah, like French are like prim and proper. The Bulgarians are.
Don't get me started on French.
It has like a cultural connotation too. You know what I mean? It's not just like magic. Like,
no, it's not the same.
In like Lord of the Rings, magic still like is that big mysterious force
still
that no one can really explain except for maybe Tolkien. But like he's not here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's kind of smart on Tolkien's part. At least some mystery. In this world he's created, there's still mystery to it. Because let's be honest, if a world has no mystery to it, it's just kind of bland. Not that I'm accusing J.K. Rowling of having a bland world that she created. My gripe with Harry Potter isn't related to that at all. It's that Harry knew no other spell but like and beat the most powerful Dark Lord.
That knew everything.
Right?
Bring himself back from the dead multiple times.
There was a big shift in writing style in Harry Potter, I feel like the first 4 books I feel were the best books.
Yeah, that's why everybody has that 4 set.
Because it wasn't just magic, it was mystery.
Yeah.
The first 4 books were basically a mystery novel written in a high school magic setting. Yeah. While the Goblet of Fire
it got more
onward, it got more political.
Yes.
Well, I thought Goblet of Fire was the peak. Like I did
Order
like
of the
it.
Phoenix,
Was
my bad, not Goblet of Fire.
Order of the Phoenix was definitely
where it really
a little
started
different.
to push a message.
Yeah.
Like, Goblet of Fire was like the testing phase. This is where it's like as far as when the guy died at the end, and like we're kind of trying to push some more moral. You know what I mean?
I couldn't believe
Harry's growing up.
It's funny to look back on. I read all the books.
I read the first 4.
It takes a while, but was I homeschooled? I think I read them when I was home. No, wait. When did
you read them all the way through too? Because I never read a Harry Potter.
I read every single one through.
Sections, like you know what I mean, like, and I could never sit down and do it.
Like the smaller versions, 1, 2, and 3. I think I read each of those within a day and a half. And then the bigger ones probably took me 3 days.
It was a rite of passage in my family. Like the new Harry Potter book came out, we'd spend a week reading it.
Yeah. You're trying to knock it back as fast as you can.
Yeah, no,
I lost it once it started getting to that after. Because I remember when the first 4, like, when I got into it, that was already like a set. Like, you would get the first 4 and everybody would spend however long they took getting through the first 4. And that would be like your introduction. And then you would read 5, 6, 7, whatever, when they came out.
Yeah.
So sorry to cut you off. You know what I think's funny is, if someone told me I've never seen Harry Potter, should I watch the movies, and is that good? I'd be like, no, actually read the books first. Because there's a lot in the books that was left out or kind of changed. Lord of the Rings, I know the movies aren't 100% to the books, but they're so well done, I'm just kind of like, there's really no need to read the books. I mean, I'm not trying to discourage anyone or anything, but it was so done good that it's like you almost don't really need to read the books. But at the same time, I'd say read the book if you want. But
read a book, motherfucker. Read a book.
But to be honest, I'll probably, unless I have nothing else to do, I will probably not read Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, Tolkien's writing is very
different. You know what I liked about Lord of the Rings as far as the lore, like the magic had like it could get a negative effect hold on you. You know what I mean? And it did on the main character. You know what I mean? I feel like Harry was always kind of like so virtuous.
Like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter?
Well, in Harry Potter, he was always so virtuous against like the forces that like he was like never tested or corrupted at all. You know what I mean? Like whereas like that was a big point of fucking in Lord of the Rings.
The ring?
Yeah, that was a big point of the ring. Like it would corrupt the most righteous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it almost corrupted Frodo.
Yeah, and so like, and even like, not even the most righteous, like the motherfucker that has like no reason to fucking be a bad person. You know what I mean? Like Frodo's like not even just morally like good. He just has no reason to be bad. So like the ring even did him in. You know what I mean? So it's like I like that like whole concept of the magic too, and like how like you got like Gandalf and like he's like this character, and then you got I always kind of like Sauron's character, and I like Twin Towers. That was my favorite one because I like the little war between the fucking the trees and shit when they fight against the tower and shit.
Oh yeah.
But fucking I liked how Sauron he went bad because of how the magic was doing it. You know what I mean? And he was trying to get all the information and all the knowledge and have like such a control over nature and his surroundings, and didn't respect the forces so much that he just like went to the dark side real quick, and it was all bad how it ended up for him.
And then he went to the dark side legit in Attack of the Clones.
For real. Yeah. That's funny.
Real quick, who will we all be for in Lord of the Rings?
No question. I mean, I feel like everybody wants to be fucking Legolas.
I'd want to be Aragorn.
It's either Aragorn or Legolas. Nobody's trying to be the fucking.
I'll be Gimli. Fuck that. I'll be Gimli. You have my axe.
Dude, you make a badass Gimli.
I feel like the elves are like the most OP. I always choose the elves though. I'm like dark elf.
Yeah.
I'm dark elf to the death in me in Skyrim. So like
being the tough like ranger type character is my favorite like thing to like play as. Like in D&D, being the ranger, even though in 5e it's terrible, like it's really fun.
That's why you got multi-class. I would know. Yeah, I don't even know who I'd be. I always, when talking about stuff like this, I'm like, you guys tell me who I am, because I don't know who I am. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as a nerd dude.
So in Lord of the Rings, magic is... We all agree magic is very familiar. There's no, like, stated structure on magic. It's more like Gandalf waves his staff and something happens.
Yeah. And it's just because he's a wizard. Yeah. Where Harry Potter, there's, like, rules and stuff. Are there any other big franchises that deal with magic?
Fate has so many rules to magic.
Don't even get me started.
In fact, most of the things you see in that series isn't magic.
Anything else though? Like, I'm just trying to figure out other stuff. Like, I know there's big things. I know there's Marvel. I know there's DC. You know, they have their versions of magic and stuff. But
no, I don't feel like any of it. Even the magic characters in there, I don't feel so much magic.
So like Doctor Strange and like Doctor Fate
is the magic, and Fate is the magic. But like, I don't feel like the whole basis behind Marvel and DC is magic.
No.
Superheroes that deal in magic, but they're superheroes first.
So that's why it's kind of like I don't really know if we want to count those.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think though.
Even though I feel like
Strange.
Fate. Doctor Fate.
Dr. Fate.
Dr. Fate. Him on the mask.
Yeah.
No, he's in Marvel. He's in DC.
He's in DC. Yeah.
I felt like he played the magician character more than Doctor Strange, because I feel like Doctor Strange was more so a superhero /magician.
He was very grounded in science because he was a surgeon.
Yeah. But he would get out there and, like, he kind of interacted. Whereas I feel like Dr. Fate was always kind of a background player doing the spells and shit, more so than, like, I'm ever even on the battlefield type shit. You know what I mean?
Well, the whole thing of Dr. Fate is he doesn't interfere with fate. So that's why, the sun's going to go down. Unless he thinks he absolutely needs to get involved. He's just in the back. Or he might warn characters, hey, you might want to take care of this. It is your fate.
I like how he would always play like he's in like this second dimension that's like exactly like our world. He can kind of just move around and choose to step into our world when it's time, but he rarely does.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He always operates from back. Whereas like Doctor Strange, I feel like his like little mode would be he show up through a portal. You know what I mean? Well, like boom, step through the magic.
His whole thing
on the battlefield.
Well, his whole thing is supreme. He's the supreme sorcerer of Earth and the protector of like the different dimensions. So, of course, that's why he have much more of a prominent kind of force, because he's like, I gotta protect dimensions. We're in
But I
Fate.
feel like his magic is not so much rooted in those dimensions per se. Then that's just like
Oh, okay,
he
yeah.
just walks through these portals and goes through these worlds. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He walks through the magic,
I see what you mean.
and then he's on the battlefield.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Walks through the magic. And Fate is always in the magic. I'm a magician.
Mm-hmm.
Always in the magic. I'm role playing right now.
And I just choose to appear.
I choose to appear. But because magic implies
We should.
sleight of hand and illusion and mystery,
Mm-hmm.
it's not about like the big portal, step through. Whoa, ah, bah, bah, you know what I mean?
I really wish we filmed this.
I'm telling you.
Smokey's just walking around doing these like different impressions, and it's great.
I'm telling you, I need to stand up comedian. No, I ain't trying to suck my own cock right now. But I think that like was the biggest difference. And I do like both those characters, but I always liked Fate. I always would play Fate in Ultimate Alliance, fucking this game on PlayStation 2, and like you could get the extended edition, and like Fate was a character. I always would play his shit.
He wasn't too bad in Injustice 2. I did like playing him in Injustice 2. I also liked his voice actor. Like you could switch styles as him, so you'd just be like Fate of Horus or something. You sound pretty cool.
Yep.
He was also pretty savage in his intros. Like he just
And he rocks the honk.
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah.
Stop fucking around. Come on now. It's meant to be.
Egyptian magic man.
Yep.
Ah man.
How long are we looking at right now, bro?
This is
Oh,
hour
we're
5.
going on a good one right now. Hour 5? That's
hour
it?
5, yeah.
Oh, man. I'm on a good one. I felt like we were pushing 2 hours.
It was fun.
Felt like it, yeah.
I was just about to
Don't
say.
it? Don't it feel like it? No,
It does, yeah. No, I felt like it's been going on. I checked the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Oh, it's only that." Like I thought it was much later.
Yeah.
But funny enough, I was gonna say, anyone else got any final points on Magic? I'm kind of I think I've kind of said everything I've had to say. I mean, like, I didn't really touch much on like biblical stuff, but I'm just gonna summarize it to this.
We always dip our feet there, though.
Yeah, we always do. But if you're wondering what the Bible
We
says,
swim in that waters.
it just says magic is not the way.
Not the way.
So I'll just leave it at that for people.
Don't dabble in forces you don't understand.
Yeah.
Healthy respect for them motherfuckers.
Yeah, and definitely.
I know what the Ouija board does.
Yeah, and we
That's
touched
why
on.
I don't fuck with
And
it.
we touched on some dark stuff like Ouija boards and other stuff like have you heard of some of these rituals like playing hide and seek by yourself?
Oh, that's like a bad thing to do.
Yeah, because you have to like do like pretty much a seance.
Mm-hmm.
And then my thing is, who would want to do that? Because you're literally running from like a stuffed animal.
I don't know. You tell me you live in this house by yourself, bro. Who's gonna do that? I'm fucking with you, bro. I love you. That's not my choice.
Hey, you know what I always say? Think like your enemy. So of course I want to know what they do. But there's that, and then there's a weird. I think they touched on it in the Conjuring movies. There's this weird like clapping game. I don't know if you do some type of seance or whatever, but like there's this weird like clapping game you do. But you like so it's I don't know. All I just know it's stuff that I'd be like, if I saw it going on, I'd be like, all right, I'm heading out. Especially with Ouija boards. If I just got to the party and everyone's like, we're about to do a Ouija board, I'd be like, all right, let me.
That's some shit. Like I feel like the ones we do not mention would be like bust out trying to do. I'm like, bro, what is wrong with y'all? Why do y'all want to do this weird shit?
Yeah, no, it's just, dude, I agree. It's just there's forces you shouldn't mess with.
Well, that's all I got.
Yep, so I got 2.
Smokey is checking out.
Well, I'd like to plug our social media real quick. If you guys have any magical experiences you would like to fill us in on,
email us at thenightstalkerpodcast@gmail.com.
You can hit us up on Instagram at thenightstalkerpodcast. Official?
No, not official.
Not official?
No, it's
not
just,
really. Yeah, that's different.
It's
Not official.
And then we have a Twitter, I think.
We haven't posted anything on there in a bit.
We haven't posted anything on Instagram in a bit.
Because somebody's too busy using
it. Anyways, but you can hit us up on email, and not too much on it, but we are looking to make a website because to get
GoDaddy?
Yeah, we might be doing that or Squarespace here soon. We're just dipping our toes in the research and this and that, and we will totally let you guys know when there's more on that. No more
like, comment, subscribe. Feedback is always appreciated. Let us know we're doing something. Right, wrong, or indifferent. We're doing something.
You can talk to us about ghost stories, magic experiences, supernatural experiences, aliens. You just want to ask how our day's going.
Say hi.
Yes, please talk to us. We're lonely.
We just want to know motherfuckers are listening.
So yeah, I guess that's gonna close us out for today. So we'll catch you guys on the next week. Holiday coming up, so we'll cover that for you. And I think that's about do it, right, boys?
Yep.
Right.
All right. This has been the Nightstalker podcast. We will see you later. Good night and good luck.
Happy stalking.